Hey, Shalom, this is Dan. Hey, so I'm out on the boat with my son today. We decided to rent a boat and come out to the lake and just paddle. And while we've been here, I've been thinking about times in the Bible when you see Jesus doing something that had to do with him being on a lake, on some kind of body of water. One of them that comes to mind is in Mark chapter 4. And it's here that, that there's so much going on that he's seeing these people coming. They're coming by the bunches. And it gets to be so many people pushing in that Jesus has to get into a boat just to get away from the people long enough to where he can give his teaching without getting bombarded. And, it leads to, later on in that chapter, one of the stories that we probably know very well about Jesus calming the storm. And in verse 35 is where we find the story, Mark 4:35. We find the story where here's Jesus now. He's done his teaching for the day. He's hanging out with the disciples. He's already explained the sower and the seed that falls into the different kinds of soil. And he's already explained it to the disciples because they didn't understand the depth of what was being said. And so now you have him, Jesus, taking a nap. And the storm comes up on the water. And the disciples, they're freaking out because, they have been in storms before. They're fishermen. We have to assume that they've seen some kind of storms before. But the Bible records that this storm probably was bigger than what they had ever seen before because it made them scared. And so they're panicking. They're trying to get the sail right. They're trying to do all these things. And it comes to the point where they're looking at Jesus. He's sleeping. And they say, "Dude, wake up. Jesus, wake up. We are about to die. Don't you care if we die?" And Jesus, he gets up, and it says that he speaks, and the wind and the waves, they're just done. It becomes peaceful. And the disciples look at Jesus, and they contemplate, what kind of man is this, that even the wind and the waves obey him? I'll tell you who he is. He's Jesus Christ. He's that same God, that same Jesus that speaks to your situation when you got the wind and the waves and all this stuff coming down. You got these torrents coming, and you're seeing a storm that you have never seen before, or in a degree that you have never seen before. He's the same Jesus that speaks in your situation, "Peace, be still." Once, a while back, I wrote just a little snippet story where I was looking at my own life, and I had just gone through the beginnings of divorce, and I had just gone through finding out that my dad had ALS, and I was in this situation where I kind of felt the same way. Jesus, don't you see this is happening? My marriage is crumbling. Jesus, my dad is dying. Jesus, I can't pay my bills. Jesus, this, Jesus, that. And it looked like a whole new storm that I had never been through before. And I call out and I see, "Jesus, don't you care? Don't you care about what I'm going through?" And those same words that Jesus spoke to the disciples are the same words that he spoke in my situation. "Peace, be still." I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but it's the same words that he says to you in your situation. He knows that the rent is due. He knows that maybe your marriage isn't going the way that you hoped it would. He knows that maybe you got some crazy kids doing some crazy stuff. He knows that your job situation might not be the best. He knows everything, and yet he still is telling you, "Peace, be still." He's telling your storm, "Peace, be still." You're going to find, as the disciples did, the wind and the waves are going to die down. And in that time, when we're there and now we see the peaceful effects of what has happened, I hope that you, like me, understand who Jesus is. There was a time when I said, okay, now the wind is peaceful. Now the waves are still. Now I have that peace again. It only came because Jesus spoke. He's speaking to your situation. He's telling it the same thing. "Peace, be still." And you are going to find that peace coming. The disciples marveled and they said, "What kind of God is this? What kind of man is this that even the wind and the waves obey?" It's Jesus Christ. That same Jesus, the Bible says, is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He brought peace in the storm of the disciples. He is bringing peace to you right now. Shalom.